Hi. So this is sort of an addendum to my set of videos on how to meditate. I've received quite a few comments and some compliments and some questions about the videos about how to meditate. And so I thought uh, a good continuation of the series would be to answer some questions that people have about the meditation practice once they've started to practice meditation. So the first question which often comes up is in regards to the actual meditation practice itself, the act of acknowledging or noting the phenomena which arise during the meditation. So in the beginning we have meditators acknowledge the stomach as it rises and falls and say to themselves, rising, falling, and people wonder exactly what it means to say to oneself or to note rising and to note falling. The point is to not only be aware of the object, but also to straighten out the mind in regards to the object. Normally the mind considers that the rising and the falling is me, is mine, is the stomach, is my body, and so on. And it does this with everything. We're only taking the rising and falling as an example. Now, when we say to ourselves instead rising, when we say to ourselves falling, we remind ourselves. Sati, the word mindfulness, it comes from the word sati, which means to remember. So we're reminding ourselves that this is only rising, this is only falling. It's not me, it's not mine, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not any number of things which we might judge about it. And we do this with everything in order to keep the mind straight and to keep the mind in line with the ultimate reality of the phenomenon. So the method of doing this is not simply to say the words in your head. First of all, the method of practicing is to say the words in the stomach or at the phenomenon. When the stomach is rising, the mind is with the rising. It's not up in the head, in the brain, thinking rising and falling. It's actually in the stomach, and the mind is thinking rising, falling, but in the stomach. When there's pain, the mind goes out to the pain, and it knows pain, 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 in the pain or at the pain. This is the first important point, is that we're not just to say these words in our head or to say them out loud or to say them at the mouth or to imagine these words arising in print in our minds. Our minds should be with the object, at the object, and acknowledging there. This is the first point. The second question is whether eventually we don't have to acknowledge anymore, whether eventually we can just go back to just knowing, just watching the phenomena arise and cease. It's possible to do so, but this isn't the practice of mindfulness. The practice of acknowledging, noting, reminding ourselves of the true nature of the phenomenon leads us all the way to freedom from suffering, when the mind lets go of the object. When the mind lets go, of course, there's no need to use the acknowledgement. But until that time, it's necessary to keep reminding and to straightening out the mind in regards to the ultimate reality of the phenomenon. So this is the first question which I thought to answer in regards to the meditation, is in regards to the noting itself. Another question which often comes up during the course of meditation practice is, what are we expecting to get from the practice of meditation? So some people who have pain or aching or soreness expect that through meditation the pain and the aching and the soreness will just disappear. People who think a lot expect that by practicing meditation the thinking will just disappear and these things will no longer come back and they'll be cured of these states once and for all. The truth about meditation is that yes, it is to cure the unpleasantness of existence and to bring about real, true peace and happiness. But this is something which comes about not through the disappearance of pain and suffering, but through the acceptance and the disassociation from pain and suffering, and from unpleasant states of existence. So when we acknowledge to ourselves pain, or aching, we're not looking specifically for it to disappear, although sometimes it will disappear through the acknowledgement. Sometimes it won't disappear. What we're trying to understand is that these states inside of ourselves and in the world around us are impermanent. Means they're changing all the time. They're therefore not something which we should look to satisfy us. When they're unpleasant things, we should not try to force them to go away, thinking that we'll be therefore satisfied and content, because they're impermanent. It's unsure when they will come, when they will go. Because they're impermanent, there's no way to find satisfaction from their appearance or disappearance. When we see that, then we let go of them. We disassociate ourselves from them. We don't see them as me, as mine, or under my control. We become comfortable with them as simply a part of nature, something which is not under our control or not worth trying to force, trying to make disappear or make appear. The same thing goes when we experience thinking. When we find ourselves thinking too much, we find ourselves distracted, or we find ourselves worried, or we find ourselves stressed out. So we think that by acknowledging thinking, or simply by sitting in meditation, that we will no longer have to think. But until we reach the state of, until we reach what they call nirvana, or the cessation of suffering, we're always going to have thinking. But during the time that we have thinking, when we acknowledge to ourselves thinking, we come to become comfortable, and also to see the causes which lead us to think too much. We can see the causes of upset, the causes of stress, the causes of worry, and we can come to see that there's no reason for us to get upset, and there's no reason for us to worry, and in fact there's no reason for us to think on and on, again and again, about the same things until finally it leads to a headache. We come to realize that all of this thinking is really getting us nowhere, and we bring the mind back to the present moment, and the mind naturally moves, gravitates back towards the present moment, and moves away from dreaming about the future or remembering about the past, either good things or bad things which have happened or might happen in the future. So to put it briefly, we come to see that all of the things which we hold on to are impermanent. Because they're impermanent, they're not satisfying. Because they're not satisfying, then we shouldn't say of these things that these are me, these are mine, these are under my control. And as a result of seeing this, we let go. The mind starts to let go, to give up all of the things which it used to hold on to as me, as mine, and try to control and try to force. And the mind no longer tries to force and control the things inside of us and the things around us. This is another question which arises. The point is not for the ability to control the things inside of us and around us, but simply to let go of them and allow the mind to gravitate naturally back to the present moment and back to a state of true peace and true happiness. So this is the answer to my questions on the nature of the goal of meditation practice.